SharkyBreath.
He plays video games.
Hello, and welcome back to Disco Elysium. Now, I know what you may be thinking here. You may be thinking, if you're truly so aimless on what to do with yourself when you're all alone, then why did you send Kim off with the body in the first place? And that's a good question, but I have an answer for you, and the answer is I was worried. I was worried because I know that at some point it becomes too late to send the body to processing. It happened yesterday. I know it's possible. So, as such, I was concerned, and I wanted to make sure to get him on his way well enough in time to get the body processed so that we don't have to worry about doing it again tomorrow, since I have to imagine the body's going to kind of decompose over time, you know, because that's what bodies do. As to what I'm doing right now, something I may regret, I'm hoping I can at least approach at Measurehead if I don't talk to him, alone, safely. I may learn otherwise, but I did just save, or rather I did just load, so what could possibly go wrong? Hello.
Your race descent has only worsened since I last saw you. You have really let yourself go.
I feel like you said something similar to that effect, but not exactly to that effect, last time I was here, which is interesting. You got some variety. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. If I'm going to wander around and talk to Joyce and read a book and whatnot, I should probably have at least a thought going that I'm working on, right? I've got one more experience point that I didn't spend on petty theft. So maybe the thing to do is open up another spot in my mind cabinet and work on this and find out if it's an avenue I wish to approach, because just dismissing it out of hand is meaning that I'm taking one of the two routes I've got to dealing with this guy right here, and I need to deal with this guy right here. I must deal with this guy right here. But the only other option is knocking him out, and I really don't foresee that ever happening. My physical instrument is puny, and yes, I bested him in cradiometrics, but like, that still makes it a 1 in 4 chance that I ever would manage this. So I don't think it's real likely. So I'm going to go ahead and start conceptualizing his advanced race theory, although it gives me a nasty taste in my mouth even thinking about it. So here we go.
Go ahead. Don't be shy. Just ask for race secrets.
I failed. I failed. I rolled a 4 and I failed. I had such low chances of that happening, but I guess that's how this game is, huh? I want to learn this race theory of yours so we can become friends. Try to smile pathetically. I need some of that race stuff in my brain. Sock it to me. No, I better not say anything on this topic. Oh, man. I don't wanna. I mean, I could just back out, but that's the boring option. And do I want to always be boring? I shouldn't. Okay, listen, given that I've failed, and I know that's metagaming, given that I've failed, approaching Measurehead alone is a terrible idea. Now, admittedly, he doesn't seem particularly violent. He doesn't seem to want to actually do me harm. He just wants my race to fail. And, or more to the point, believes that we already have. So I guess maybe it wouldn't be that harmful to talk to him, but I'm just not, I don't know that this is a great idea. This is going to damage my morale, I suspect, but like... Theoretically, that's what I'm doing, isn't it? That's theoretically what I'm doing, isn't it? Sure, let's just tell him. And see how badly it goes for me.
Do not be naive. I know the answer to the great race enigma. Why would I share it with a deformed infant?
A deformed infant?
You do not have the devotion for servitude.
I suppose that's probably true. Alright. Bye then. Well... do we want to try to knock him out? I feel like he's probably going to do me some damage if I fail. But I did just roll a 4, or whatever it was, so... who knows? Maybe I can roll really well next time? Do I have anything? I don't have anything to raise my physical instrument. I'm pretty sure I already checked this. Tell you what. tell you what. This is for helping me out with Kim anyway, and Kim ain't even here at the moment. Do we want to put on my raincoat and just take a swing at this guy? But the thing is that even if I do, I don't want to talk to Everard alone, that's for sure. It's a white check, I can retry it. There we go. Them some fighting clothes if I've ever seen any. Am I really doing this? Am I really doing this? Do it.
You have really
Fail.
let yourself go.
Ooh, okay, yeah, that's about what I figured. Yeah, that sounds crunchy.
Your little fist is in his giant hand, and he's squeezing it. It hurts.
I'm sure it does. Continue.
You must be out of your mind, degenerate drunk.
The pressure on your hand becomes unbearable.
Say it. I am a degenerate alcoholic.
I mean, okay.
The crackle of bones inside. You can hear it.
What dignity do I have to save here? I have the option of fighting back verbally, but like, I'm a cop. Help. Fuck you. It's not really going to get me anywhere aside from some broken bones in my hand, and even this might. But let's at least try to appease him. I made a mistake. I know I made a mistake. I'm sorry, cop. I'm sorry.
Good. Now leave before you humiliate your homoerotic organization any further.
Cool. I suppose I probably should have just taken the physical damage, huh? Since I put on my special raincoat for it and all. Well. Oh well. Apparently I don't necessarily use my brain properly sometimes. It seems to be an ongoing problem. Okay, well I can't work on that particular thought. Well, is there another one that I wish to work on? Let me have a look at my cabinet. We got the superstar cop thing. -2 logic, still seems unlikely. Kingdom of Conscience, -2 half-light, calm water. Half-light is what? Half-light is the one for like half-light. Let the body take control, threaten people. That's not one that I feel like I've used at all, and not one I feel like I'm going to use at all. So actually getting a -2 to that is not terrible at all. And then actual art degree, -1 perception. Can't even look at this shit. Both that and Kingdom of Conscience are pretty fast to process, but I've only got the skill points for one because, again, I needed to steal a book about cockatoos. You don't understand, I needed it. Okay. Okay. How's about this? How's about this? Why don't we see what happens if I internalize Kingdom of Conscience? It seems a little bit... it seems a little bit pretentious, yeah? Being like, you don't have to worry about the problems of today because they can't be solved today. We'll solve them in a couple generations. In the meantime, just exist, man. I don't know. It doesn't seem particularly productive as a thought goes. But if it comes down to it and I really don't like it, I can always get rid of it, right? Unlock. Yep. Do it. Let's internalize the Kingdom of Conscience. Calm water. Here I go. Great. Okay, so that's happening. Now, let's go somewhere else. Let's go talk to Joyce. I do need to... Why can't I go down the stairwell? I'm incapable of stairwell. Why not? There we go. There we go. It's just that... Okay, we're having problems. There we go. I've figured out how to go down the stairs. It's a major development. Look at me go. Are you lost? You look lost, out of place. Are you talking to me? I wasn't even here yet. I guess you must be talking to me. I suppose there might be some virtue to talking to the racist man again without a person he can be racist to around, but like I don't want to, so I'm not going to. Hey look, a green thing. Right, this one's inoperable. I think I already knew that, didn't I? I feel like I did. So, let's go talk to Joyce. See if she can't help me get my head sorted out. Hopefully she won't damage my morale some more, you know? I can't really afford that at the moment. Me and my shiny yellow raincoat. At least it probably keeps the snow out. To some extent, you know? It's not really built for that particular task, but it must sort of help, I suppose. Hi, Joyce. It's me again. Remember me?
You're back.
I'm back.
Good. What can I help you with?
She takes a sip from her silvery thermal cup. I did speak with the lorryman at the roundabout. Do we want to talk to her about that right now, or do we just want to go straight into the questions about reality? Because this is pursuing the main case, and my good buddy Kim is not here at the moment. Plus, I haven't spoken to that last one. Hang on. Wasn't there something about another lorryman? Didn't the racist lorry driver point me at somebody who probably has nothing to do with it because he's the racist lorry driver, you know? Jam mystery. Interrogate the drivers about the smuggling. I did that. I haven't gotten a new goal, so apparently whatever he said I didn't internalize. So maybe it doesn't matter? I'm not really sure. Okay, well, worst comes to worst, I can always come back here with Kim tomorrow and talk to her about how we talked to the lorryman again.
What can I help you with?
So let's go ahead and float the idea that I did, because I did, technically.
On the contrary, officer. There are yet camionneurs you have not talked to.
Really?
And don't look so surprised. In a time like this, it would be strange if Wild Pines didn't have eyes on the harbor.
I suppose that's true, but which one did I miss? Continue.
They must have someone in an overlook position, near the gates.
That would seem to make sense. Continue.
I suggest you go back and canvass for more suspects.
Okay, so there is another person to talk to. Okay, good to know. Well, thanks for that, Joyce. I've got more questions about reality, though.
More lessons in basic reality? My favorite part of the day. Go ahead, ask me anything.
She's positively surprised. Okay, so what times are these? What is this acute encephalopathy? What is think of something close to you? Esprit de Corps Legendary 14. I should switch jackets if I want to ask about that. What are you? What is this? Spread your hands. Conceptualization impossible 20. What is reach for something fundamental? But the jamais vu thought is complete, so therefore I can probably do it unless I roll double ones, which is always a thing I can do. All right, well, in that case,
Glad
let me...
to have been of assistance.
Yeah. I am going to ask you questions. Just give me a minute to change jackets. There we go. That's much better. That's much more like it. Is there anything else? Do I have anything else for my esprit de corps? I don't think I do, right? I'm already at... I'm at 3, which is as high as it gets around here.
Good. What
Okay,
can I have
reality.
lessons in basic reality?
Esprit de corps... Okay, that brings it up to
My favorite part of the day.
58%.
Go ahead, ask me anything.
Okay. Why don't we start with the jamais vu thought? Apparently it's very important. My brain seems to think it's very important. What is reach for something fundamental? Let's do it. Tell me.
What is all of this? The scent, the sound, the air.
What world is this? Impossible success. Look at that. I even rolled pretty well. Doesn't matter, though. That plus 12 is all that matters. What world is this, Joyce?
What world? The only one, I suppose. The world of matter. And its pale antipode.
I thought it was pronounced antipode. I always thought it was antipode. It's antipode, is it? The fading pearls of her eyes look to the sea. The fading pearls of her eyes. That's sure a heck of a way to describe someone's, look holes. Continue.
The camera of her mind glides over the surface of the water.
Mm-hmm. What do you see or say nothing? Let her just think about it or pry for more answers? I mean, I'm here to pry for answers in the first place. What do you see, Joyce?
Great bodies of water. Forest-covered surfaces. Clusters of light where the cities lie. You've seen the montage. We all have. This world is enough.
She concludes.
A frisson lifts the hair on the back of your arm. Wind sweeps the surface of the bay.
Well, apparently I can play that particular game, Joyce. Allow me to participate. The wind is sweeping the waters.
The world is a suzerainty.
Who are you? Why are you in my brain? I feel like somebody else has spoken to my brain before. A higher voice. Is that the chewing gum flavored person's voice? Suzerainty. Isn't that the monarchy? The world is a monarchy. Is that what you're saying? Continue.
A vrai vachal.
Uh-huh.
There is a term of endearment they coined for it in the DeLorean century, when humanity was high on this world, discovering more and more of it, these archipelagos included.
What is that term, Joyce?
Elysium.
Title drop, huh? Wait, is this the one with the evil apes? Elysium. The world needs a term of endearment. This world does not deserve a term of endearment. Let's ask about the evil apes first.
Not in this case, no. That sounds more like something the Mesk petrofascists might say.
Like the one who wrote the book that I just bought a minute ago? Her gaze wanders.
The Confederate Republic of Mesk, the world's largest state by territory, has fallen into an especially nihilistic strain of nationalism lately.
That sounds absolutely miserable. I can't wait to read that book later on. Continue.
It isn't enough to call us animals. Even animals aren't animals.
Her eyes return to you. What are animals, then?
They're like you and I suppose. Living organisms don't identify with abstractions. Elysium is for particular beings.
I need to read that again. My brain did not process. They're like you and I suppose. Living organisms don't identify with abstractions. Elysium is for particular beings. Animals aren't animals. They're... living organisms. That's an unusual mindset to have, Joyce, but it's interesting. Elysium is for particular beings. And all of us living here in the world are that, is what you're saying. Humans and animals alike. Elysium, the world teams a term of endearment. The world does not deserve a term of endearment. I don't like being that jaded about things, right? We're in a pretty messed up reality, I gotta admit. But, like, if you approach everything that nihilistically, honestly, it's gonna end badly. This one, a term of endearment.
It does. There are those who would call it hell.
I'm sure there are. What is hell?
A term of hatred that originates, like many such things, with the Mesk petrofascists.
It originates with the Mesk petrofascists? They invented the concept of hell? Are you sure? I don't feel like I've got the whole picture yet. I've got a clear picture. Let's proceed to another term. No, let us elaborate on this one.
Oh, you want a picture of the world?
She raises her finger to her lips.
There is no complete set yet, dear. They're having some trouble reaching orbit.
A complete set of pictures of the world? Are we talking about, satellite photography? How come?
Great things are difficult to achieve. For now, we're viewing the world from the inside, sideways.
I suppose we are. How about it's a ball? Inside sideways. What shape is this world, then? I mean, this is giving answers. It's a pretty basic one, admittedly, but I'm here to ask questions, not answer them. What shape is this world?
We used to think it was a sphere, but that is beginning to look less and less likely by the day.
Really?
You wouldn't know it from the tabloids, but the ORG nations have been launching weather balloons into the lower ionosphere since the 30s.
Okay. Continue.
ORG, Occident Revischol-Grad.
Ah, okay, thank you. That is good to know. Occident Revischol-Grad.
There's a steadily increasing trickle of images. Between the big three scientific contributors, they're piecing together a dark grey corona.
A dark gray corona. Yes, that. Elaborate.
Yes.
She pauses.
Pale covers 72% of the surface. There are grey flares and prominences, even arcs above entire isolas. The images are blurry, but if there was a sphere in there, it certainly looks like it fractured a long time ago.
What? What? The world has been shattered into pieces. Is that what you're saying? Oh my god, wait, what the hell are you telling me? The pale? And what do you mean corona? This was my initial reaction, so I'm going with this one.
You seem to be spooked. Please don't be.
Her voice becomes homely, calm. She lets a moment pass. Well, that is very helpful there, Joyce. Stop being afraid of the fact that the world might have been shattered. Okay, Gotcha. The Pale. And what do you mean corona?
They say there is a rarefied envelope of matter surrounding the darkened disk of our planet. That is, if we are still living on a planet.
Uh-huh.
Or, to speak more plainly, imagine vast swathes of land disrupted by nothingness.
I've always heard that pronounced swaths. Swathes. Okay. Disrupted by nothingness. Lands disrupted by nothingness. But in this case, we're not talking water? We're talking nothing. Okay, continue.
I am sorry, dear.
She looks around.
It must sound quite terrifying through the acute encephalopathy.
Sounds quite terrifying anyway.
Even scientific positivism isn't entirely convinced about what we're dealing with here.
Shh, yeah, I guess. Continue?
But this is one of the greatest questions of our time. Maybe when they get the complete set together, it will jolt us out of our rut, bring us together, however naive it may sound.
We identify the nature of the world and therefore the peoples of the world unite? I mean, does sound rather naive. A fractured corona doesn't feel like it's going to bring anyone together. Okay, and then everything will be okay? Well, the thing about a fractured corona is it feels like a crisis. Even if it's one that's entirely unaddressable, it does feel like a crisis. I feel like I'm pursuing this particular angle on it, though, because the everything will be okay angle is almost certainly just even more naive than thinking everyone will be brought together.
You have misimagined it.
I have?
I don't have the power to convey to you the effect and geometry of the images that depict our world from below low orbit.
Continue?
It's like the crowning of the world. It's insane. Very disco. You'd love it.
We really are doing the title drop right here, aren't we? It's a disco Elysium. Well, if you say it's disco, doesn't sound like any kind of disco I'd like to go to. All right, let's be swayed by the positivity here. I mean, it sounds pretty terrifying, but okay. If you say it's disco...
See? Everyone finds something worth holding on to in this world, however wasted its opportunities.
This doesn't seem like very much at the moment. Continue.
The cold seeps into you. The air is heavy with 80% humidity.
Ah, shoot, should I put that raincoat back on? Continue.
Suddenly, you're conscious of yourself standing there, on whatever this all is. Your arms hang down by your sides.
They do. Am I just aware of the fact that I'm looking down at myself? Are we doing a meta thing? We might be. What is pale? This is new. What is pale?
The pale is not, technically speaking, part of reality.
It's not? And the world is more than... what would you say? 70% that? The thing that's not real? Continue?
It is the opposite of reality.
Okay, but what is it? A definition would be cool.
Okay.
She can...
The pale is the most dominant geological feature of the world, Detective. The separative tissue between the islas. It is the inter-islary mass.
Okay. It's whatever exists between the islas. Wait, and what is an isla? Okay, what is the pale like? Let's get clarification while we're at it. What's an isla?
Isla is a Messinian word for a continent of matter, enveloped on all sides by the pale. Also, isolation, or landmass. We used to believe there was only one. In the last 4 centuries, we have discovered 7.
Okay. How did we lose... This might not be Earth. I don't know. This might not be Earth. They have knowledge of things that come from Earth, like X go and give it to you. That's not true. It wasn't X go and give it to you. It was another thing by the same guy. How did we lose sight of the world? How did we lose track of where things are? I don't know. I don't know enough. Continue.
Windy, Seol, Samara, Ilmara, Grad, Katla, and this, Insulinde.
An Insulinde is...
An oceanic isla. It comprises mostly of water.
Water.
Muindi is the largest. Katla, the coldest, Insulinde, the bluest. What can I say?
She stops.
Each is perishing and dear.
Okay. Okay, so very specifically, the water is part of the Isola. There's non-reality in between the various chunks of land and water around this world. That's a lot to take in. Okay, what is the Pale like?
Achromatic, odorless, featureless. The Pale is the enemy of matter and life. It is not like any other, or anything in the world. It is the transition state of being into nothingness.
The transition state of being into nothingness. It's like the world is being actually torn apart. Continue.
The negation of being.
The negation of... ...
That's right. The negation of being.
She tightens her hood around her neck. It's cold outside. Is it... Here, look around. What are its physical qualities? If we're surrounded by Pale, how do you get from Isola to Isola? How much Pale is there compared to the world? Let's return to reality, please. Start from the beginning. Is it here?
No, detective. We're safe.
She points to the sea.
It begins there, 6,000 kilometers to the north, and even more to the south, east, and west. You are in the middle of the Isola.
That's a bit of a relief anyway. Continue.
As your gaze instinctively turns north, a small black pit opens up in your stomach.
6,000 kilometers from the end of the world?
Yes. That is enough. Many cities are built much closer.
And point north. There?
An uproar of matter, darling. Rising into the Pale. Rolling. Evaporating even. A great vision.
Huh.
The area of transition between the world and the Pale is called Porch Collapse.
Porch collapse. That's colorful. Continue.
Imagine a grey coronal mist, cold vapor marked by spores of an opportunistic microorganism, a mold that's adapted to grow at the edge of the unrest. It's
Okay. Sorry. Gray coronal mist, cold vapor, spores of a microorganism that it's adapted to grow at the edge of the it's adapted to the non-being. Continue.
the most disco thing you will ever see.
Is it now? She closes her eyes and breathes out heavily. What are its physical qualities then? The Pale.
It's difficult to describe, or even measure.
Uh-huh.
Something whose fundamental property is the suspension of properties. Physical, epistemological, linguistic.
Continue.
The further into Pale you travel, the steeper the degree of suspension, right down to the mathematical. Numbers stop working.
What?
No one has yet passed the number barrier. It may be impossible.
So people have ventured into the Pale to experiment with what happens when you do and have come back to report? How? If we're surrounded by Pale, how do you get from Isola to Isola?
Oh, it is so difficult for us.
Her lungs deflate. Her words sound like a sigh.
A squall of birds. Hardware operating in the harbor. Firm. Self-evident.
I suppose I would need something to cling on to right now. Continue.
It is possible to force dimensions on the Pale. In modern times, we can even compress its latitude, bouncing radio waves from one end to the other, shortening the path.
Okay. You can shorten its latitude with radio waves. Okay, continue.
But it is still hard for humans to navigate the Pale without getting lost, or having our minds damaged.
Okay, I can't help but notice that you didn't actually answer my question, though. It's difficult, yes, and you can make it shorter, cool. How do you do it? That's what I asked. The Pale can damage the mind? I mean, presumably yes, but, she did just mention. Yes.
Extensively.
How?
Some say the damage stems from extreme sensory deprivation. Others argue that Pale somehow consists of past information that's degrading. That it's rarefied past, not rarefied matter.
It's just the past itself. I was fully convinced that I was going to come back here and maybe we were going to discuss some more philosophical business or whatnot, and something that would make Kim roll his eyes if he was present. I wish Kim was here. Because this is really hard to assimilate without someone to be like, yeah, no, she's not just making all this up. And I'm sure she's not. But what the heck? Continue.
They call it the blend over of the self. The Pale does not only suspend the laws of physics, but also the laws of psychology, maybe history even. The human mind becomes over-radiated by past.
So, what do you suppose the chances are that my current condition is related to this? Because it seems really weird, doesn't it? It seems like something happened to my brain. Continue.
Who says and who argues?
Who says and who argues? This is the description of... Are you saying who is it that claims this is what the Pale does, and who argues with that? Who says and who argues? What does this over-radiation feel like? I'll get to that. Who says and who argues?
The logical positivists say, the dialectical materialists argue.
I don't know who those people are, but okay. Logical positivists versus dialectical materialists. Sure. What does this over-radiation feel like?
It feels terrible.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely terrible. International standards strictly limit civilian travelers to 6 days of Pale exposure per year.
That seems like quite a lot considering. Continue.
It's more for her. Way more.
You're not a civilian passenger? Let it go. Go ahead and ask.
No, nameless detective of the Citizens Militia.
That's me.
I am a member of the Entropinetic business class. I'm cleared and trained for 22 days of Pale transit annually.
And you hate every minute of it. Continue.
Someone else you've met may have been exposed as well. The strange grey-haired woman in her lorry.
That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Existing in not just her past, but someone's past, the past in general. Do lorry drivers pass the Pale? Are you over-radiated? You're not a civilian passenger? I already asked that question. Why would I ask it again? Do lorry drivers pass the Pale?
Yes. Carried in the hulls of airships.
She nods.
It's a horrific job. Automation will abolish it soon.
That's optimistic of you, I suppose. I don't know what the lorry drivers would think of that, but maybe they'd find something else to do with themselves. Continue.
You should ask the Pale driver about this. See what she says.
That does seem like a good idea. Continue.
That poor woman must have stories to tell, like you wouldn't imagine.
Are you over-radiated?
Up to my gills, officer.
I'm sorry to hear it. What is entropinetic? I'm sure you mentioned it earlier, but I don't even remember the context. My brain is spilling at the gills. What? I mean, you just said gills, so I just said gills. Apparently, I'm impressionable. What is entropinetic?
Entroponetics
She corrects.
is the scientific study of the Pale,
Ah.
or a recent iteration of it by way of grad. The study of the Pale reaches back 6,000 years.
6,000.
The Pericarnassians called it the Western Plain.
It's been around for 6,000 years. Okay. Hang on. Putting together what I know, that this is the 80th century, wasn't it? I believe this is the 80th century, which means we're in the 8,000s of the modern keeping of time in this world. 8,000 minus 6,000 is 2,000, and that's kind of like... That's pretty close to how we can keep track of the present in the present. Is that the idea? That something happens in the present of Earth that causes strips of the world to be taken over by entropy? Nothingness? Huh. Continue.
They had not traveled the entire circumference of the Pericarnassian Super E-Solar. It was not merely in the west. It was everywhere, even then, surrounding them.
Did they cross it, the Western Plain?
There are signs of pre-modern crossings. Successful navigation of the Pale relies not just on technical know-how, but intensive psychological preparation.
I would imagine.
Some of these tactics have been known for thousands of years.
Okay. What has entroponetics changed, then?
Nothing. We remain powerless before the Pale. The only real advance in Pale transit is the speed with which an aerostatic craft can pierce it. Less exposure leads to less effects later.
Wouldn't it? I was about to be exceedingly pedantic. I was about to say, wouldn't that be fewer effects? But yes, aerostatic craft.
Hybrid airships, Detective. Conventional rotors or jet engines no longer add velocity after the point of reference for motion is suspended, once you've crossed from near Pale to far Pale.
Near Pale to far Pale. Once you're in the far Pale, the laws of motion no longer apply, so you need some other source of movement. When do they... continue.
In essence, we throw them in and they come out the other end. If we throw them precisely.
It's basically like space travel. If we do not...
Then they don't.
yeah, I suppose that's right. Continue.
Gone, like a skipping stone beneath the surface.
How much Pale is there compared to the world?
The Pale outweighs reality 2 to 1. There is more Pale than there is matter, and the ratio is slipping.
It's eating the world? Slipping how? To our detriment, or, presumably yes.
What do you think, Detective?
She looks you in the eye. She's shrinking. There is more and more of the world. No, it's shrinking, rather. It's shrinking, there's more and more of the world. It's growing, there's more and more of the Pale. I think it's probably growing. And has been for a very long time.
Precisely. One of the few measurable effects of the Pale is that it is expanding at an unknown rate.
How is it measurable if we don't know the rate? Continue.
An intuitive conclusion of that development is that one day the Pale will cover everything. But this sort of talk is mostly left to extremists.
It's not extreme at all. It's going to happen. Cover everything. That can't be. Where would we go? Stay silent. It is an inevitability. Presumably we would be gone. Based on everything you've told me, it is an inevitability.
Most people, and indeed most private and government sector organizations, entire civilizations and religions even, find handy ways to ignore or downplay that knowledge.
But not negate that knowledge. Continue.
I suggest you do the same.
Continue.
Off we go. You see the hanged man's mouth open.
Off we go into the wild Pale yonder. Did he say that? With my mouth?
One and all.
She closes her eyes.
They say Pale is death, but for the universe.
For the universe. Continue.
Why should we just leave, and the world get left behind?
What kind of a question is that, Inland Empire? Why should we just leave and the world get left behind? Is the suggestion that we're taking the world with us somehow? I would need to know more about the nature of the Pale, but it seems like nobody knows the nature of the Pale, like the source of it, what happened, why it exists. Let's return to reality, please, I guess. I think we're done with this particular topic right now.
Yes, sweet reality.
She stomps her foot.
But before we do, tell me, Detective.
Yeah?
Is this the first time you're hearing this? Do you really not remember anything?
Nothing, just alcohol fumes and blackout. I sometimes sense vague shadows of the past, and it's not good. I'm getting a sense of who I am, but no, I didn't know this. It's not nothing. There's definitely still some stuff going on upstairs in me. I've got all these segments of my brain. They know things. I just need weird methods to bring them out. So I'm not saying this. I do sometimes sense vague shadows of a past. It's true, and it's not good. That's also true. And I do like to bring up my problems in polite conversation. I'm getting a sense of who I am. I'm getting a sense of who I was, at least. But no, I didn't know this at all.
Beyond curious. Tell me, what do you think of the Pale?
It's terrifying. You were right, it's disco. It will end all life. That we continue to persist at all is a testament to our faith in one another. Its advance can only be stopped with immediate, total, ruthless communism. A powerful anti-communist force. Perhaps too powerful, but still, they have it coming. I'm worried. I have to say, it doesn't sound very liberal to me. I don't know how you've all survived with it. It's a huge accomplishment. Who am I to think anything of it? That's a lot of various opinions I could have on this matter. It's disco, Joyce, just like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Her eyes tense. Crow's feet radiate from them. She observes you, your bloodshot eyes and swollen face.
You really didn't know. This does not spell good for the investigation, Detective. If you don't know even this, then...
She stops mid-sentence. I'll handle it. It's under control. This investigation will be my masterpiece. The one they remember me by, I promise. Yes, I'm in serious trouble here. It'll be a fucking disaster. I know it. All those people will die. I'm torn between 2 and 3. It does seem like that is my approach to things, is being like, well, my past is a disaster area and I've lost touch with it entirely. Everything is going to hell in a handbasket, but I will solve this case. See if I don't. But I am in serious trouble here. Without Kim to back me up, I gotta have confidence. This investigation will be my masterpiece.
I hope so. I truly do. If I may suggest, hold on to your colleague, Kitsuragi.
I plan to.
I ran a check on him and he is very competent.
Mm-hmm.
In the meanwhile...
Yes?
You have me. I will assist you in any way I can, even if we have to do it one basic term at a time.
She gives you a slight bow. It said something about completing a secret task, didn't it? Let me see here. Talk to Joyce about the pail without Kim was a secret task, I see. Lieutenant Kisaragi does not want you to hear about something called the pail. Probably thinking it will prove traumatic. Return to Joyce once he's not there and ask her about it, or get him to step away for a second. How? I had no idea he didn't want me to hear about it. You were supposed to try it when he's here and have to come back later, and I just accidentally stumbled into it. What the heck? He doesn't want me to know about the pail. Huh. This is a white check. I should always try white checks as often as possible. It's an esprit de corps thing, which suggests it's going to involve Kim. What is, think of something close to you. Let's give it a try.
6 kilometers southwest, in the Valley of Dogs, Junior Officer Chad Tilbrook takes aim at a rabid black dog, licking its wounds in the grass.
Okay. Continue.
To his left, his partner, Emil Mullins, whispers, "You heard what happened to Tequila Sunset in Martinez?"
What does that mean?
"Yes, he lost his mind,"
Me?
Tilbrook answers, fingers on the trigger. "Don't worry, Emil." He pulls it out slowly. Slowly now. He'll find it again.
He lost his mind. Are they talking about me? Am I Tequila Sunset? Continue.
We always do.
What am I? They are talking about me. What am I?
You? You're an officer of the RCM.
She says energetically. The Revachol Citizens Militia.
Preciso mundo.
Good. And what is the Revachol Citizens Militia?
Nothing more nor less than the de facto law enforcement body of post-revolutionary Revachol, Detective.
You said de facto?
Yes, that means not de jure. The RCM acts in what is poetically called the twilight of international law, both at the behest of the coalition government and to its chagrin.
Okay. The twilight of international law. We're not official. We can't be official because of the circumstances under which we are operating. And the coalition government's like, yeah, go do it. This is how we want things. And we're like, come on, man. Really? What do you mean? I just tried to work it out myself, but what do you mean?
The RCM's responsibilities are defined by the Emergency, Wayfarer and Aliments Acts, 3 pieces of legislation keeping the city in a, let's be honest, laissez-faire stasis to the benefit of foreign capital.
Right. Okay. So I'm basically a lackey of capital. So I'm basically a thrall to foreign interests. So I'm basically one of the good guys. So I'm basically going to avoid this subject and ask the next question in this line of inquiry. A lackey of capital. Meaning money? A thrall to foreign interests. I mean, they are occupying us, so to speak, right? The coalition government? One of the good guys. That's an interesting position to be taking. I'd imagine it's one that a lot of people in the RCM would have to take, but just for, like, self-preservation. I'm basically a lackey of capital?
There's nothing basic about your role, Detective.
Uh-huh.
It's true that the RCM keeps everything the way our seemingly permanent provisional rulers like it.
She leans in.
Yet, on the other hand, I know these people. I deal with them daily. Let me tell you, dear, they are not fans of you.
Me, specifically, or the RCM in general? Why?
The post-revolutionary decade was a disaster for the coalition government. Revachol in the 20s was hell, especially on the west side of the river. Gang warfare, a botched privatization scheme, a nuclear pile meltdown.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that sounds like a mess, for sure.
They called it the international zone because no nation wanted to claim responsibility. The RCM restored peace where the coalition failed.
Huh.
A true blue citizens' initiative.
She smiles.
They will never forgive you.
I suppose that's probably true. Continue. Then why do we have their approval? Why do we have their approval, exactly? Because they have to. Because there's no other way around it. We solved a problem they couldn't solve, so they have to accept our existence, but they wish they didn't have to. Continue.
So permit me to conclude with this. Who you are to me is the police. The only legitimate law enforcement authority in Revachol.
Thank you, ma'am. Say nothing. Back to those basic terms of reality, then. I'll thank her, sure. Thank you.
And if those authorities drink so hard they need help recalling the basic terms of reality, well, I'm here to help.
She bows and smiles. Great. I suppose. That was a lot to take in. Okay, I feel like I was supposed to do those after going through a bunch of these other ones. Let's talk about my acute encephalopathy just real quick, alright? What can you tell me about that?
It's a neurological disorder caused by a lack of vitamin B in the brain. Symptoms include a retrograde amnesia. It's quite serious. You should get yourself checked out.
I'm not sure that's even possible, but cool. What causes encephalopathy? Encephalopathy. I don't know what I just said. Encephalopathy.
Well, it's either bariatric surgery or long-term alcohol use.
Oh, it's probably from surgery then. It's definitely the drinking. It's Definitely the drinking.
She nods slowly.
Yeah. Gotcha. What are you?
What I am not is a basic term of reality.
She smiles. I suppose that's a fair point, Joyce Messier. Continue.
There may be a way to get her speaking about herself at some later juncture.
Fair. Fair. What times are these?
These are unimportant times, Detective.
Really? She puts her finger to her lips and
You and
points
I
at
were
you.
born after the dust had settled. 1,000th of a second too late.
Too late for what exactly?
For the big time.
Her eyes light up. There's a flash of teeth. What's the big time?
The revolution.
She says. Right. Ha! And what is this revolution I keep hearing about?
It's quite easy. Every 100 years or so, our species gets together to decide what's next, who gets shot in the head, and who gets the mineral rights. It's a real kerfuffle.
You do seem to, like... You seem to... I shouldn't even say seem. You definitely wish you'd been alive for it. Would you say it was a bunch of apes duking it out? Who got shot in the head? Who got the mineral rights? When was this kerfuffle? That's enough about the times. A bunch of apes?
Why, of course. We're talking Duke Out Central. Full swing intraspecies warfare.
And the apes, were they evil?
No. I would say the apes were neutral.
She looks at you, her gaze sharp. Sounds like evil to me. Okay, neutral. They're good apes, actually. I'm being invited to express an opinion. At this point, I don't feel like I'm quite this pessimistic or quite this optimistic. I'm going to go ahead with your neutral, Joyce. I know it's the boring option, but yeah, okay, neutral.
On the other hand,
She turns north to the bombed-out buildings lining the waterfront, then shivers slightly. On the other hand... the bombing of the waterfront was more the work of evil apes, is what you're saying? Perhaps. Who got shot in the head?
those would be the communists. Generally speaking, 40 million people got shot in the head during the World Revolution. But the communists, they all got shot in the head.
All of them? Like figuratively speaking, or...
Oh, and the anarchists too. They shot them well. So well, one forgets they even existed.
The anarchists? Did the communists and the anarchists shoot back?
Did they ever? Before they got shot themselves, they shot 2 million people.
Truly a kerfuffle. That's a tragedy. It sounds like they should have shot more people in the head then. 40 million people. 2 million of whom were killed by the communists, meaning the 38 million remaining were the communists and the anarchists? And that's probably not quite that... It's not that easy to split it into two groups, I'd imagine. Truly a kerfuffle. The thing about that's a tragedy is this referring to the 40 million people dying, or is this the 2 million people who got killed by the communists and anarchists? Is this, am I doing a political thing when I say, if I were to say this? Probably given this option, that's probably a political thing. So I'm just going to go with kerfuffle, yeah.
Yes. The Insulindian deluge, they call it.
Insulindian deluge. I had a deluge too, in my head. Point to your little head. Anyone else get shot in the head on the opposing side? I have an opportunity to point to my head, and it's even my little head, so I'm going to go ahead and do that.
Yes. An acute thiamine deficiency can be exacerbated by alcoholism.
She blinks her green eyes.
Exacerbated means made worse.
Believe it or not, that one I knew. Anyone else get shot in the head on the opposing side?
Oh, lots of people. Even the king got shot in the head, or thrown beneath a horse, or drowned. Accounts differ. It was unceremonious.
Yeah.
Just as well, he wasn't actually the king. Just the king's nephew.
Right. I've talked to that one guy, the Boole player, about this. He had opinions about it. She shakes her head, by the way. Continue.
The real king abdicated and lived out a long and productive life as a venture capitalist in Grad.
Smart king. Cowardly king. I loved that king. Fucking communists. I don't care about kings. Tell me one more thing. Smart king, yes. Cowardly king, also yes. I'm not a royalist. Talking to Renee told me that much, at the very least. I wasn't expecting to be one in the first place, but yes, I'm not a royalist. So what do I think about the king's actions, though? He was going to die. If he stayed, he would have died. Period. But would it have been the kingly thing to do, to stay and get killed along with the people who are definitely going to get killed with or without you? I may not like what he did, but it technically was the smart move, wasn't it?
Yes. King Guillaume had a nose for bad PR. He ran before it. What is the expression? Went down?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Gil got out alive, and his nephew Frisell got shot in his place.
Mm-hmm. Question is, would Frisell not have been shot anyway if Guillaume had been around? Also, you call him Gil for short? I guess I get where that comes from. Continue.
Him and tens of thousands of his wonderfully fascist kingsmen. It was a wild time.
It certainly sounds like it was. Who got the mineral rights then?
The liberals got the mineral rights.
She looks up to the
And
sky.
by mineral rights, I mean everything.
She looks up to the sky, then inland at the crumbling city. Okay, and by liberals you mean, how did the liberals win it all? Yes, explain about the liberals.
Liberals are usually middle-class people, Detective. Or the remaining gentry. The beneficiaries of the pre-revolutionary arrangement.
Uh-huh. So they were already ahead before the revolution, and they came out even more ahead after the revolution. Which I guess that tracks, given that it was a revolution that was spurred on by the communists and the anarchists, and they were, as she mentioned, all shot in the head. Continue.
Some were rich enough to stay with the constitution, with monarchy. Big mistake. Others bet on the revolution. They were called the ultras, or ultra-liberals.
Ultra-liberals.
They fared well.
Okay. How did the liberals win it all?
They didn't win so much as survive.
Aha.
We were the last ones standing when the war ended. Everyone else got shot in the head, remember?
I mean, you did say that in broad strokes, yes. So you count yourself amongst these ultra-liberals. Bet on the revolution. So the monarchists were all shot. The revolutionaries were all shot. But the people who supported the revolution came out ahead. I don't fully understand. Okay, everyone else got shot in the head. So both sides all died, which means that the remaining people got everything? That seems too simplistic.
She's one of them. Of course.
Indeed. I noticed that too. If everyone got shot, who was there to surrender to?
To foreign intervention. The coalition.
Right.
Those people really took the mineral rights.
Wait, you just said the liberals already took everything. Who are the coalition? You specifically did say that. Yeah.
The liberals took everything that wasn't nailed to the ground. The coalition took the ground.
She stomps her
The
rubber-booted
ocean,
foot.
the laws, and the people.
Uh-huh. You seem to resent it, which I guess is understandable. Who are the coalition?
The coalition of nations. Grad, Mesk, Vesper, Messina, Oranje, and Sur-le-Clay. The armed center of the world. They landed here and ended the revolution. It was the moralist thing to do.
The moralist thing to do. And am I not in the middle of working on moralist theory in my brain, my thought cabinet right now? Moralist?
The moralists believe in keeping everything exactly the way it is. They believe in mineral rights and not shooting people in the head.
Uh-huh. Continue.
At least not in the same manner and volume as the others do.
Right.
They are the long-standing provisional rulers of Revachol now, the coalition government.
They certainly do seem to be just that. Continue.
This is their zone of control. They embolden the RCM with crumbs of the same law they took. Technically speaking, you are a moralist.
Technically speaking. Plus, I'm working on whether or not I'm a moralist outside of technically speaking. Right now, continue.
The color of moralism is blue. The official motto of Moral Intern, or Moralist International, is a blue forget-me-not, a piece of grey sky. Unofficial. For a moment, there was hope.
For a moment, there was hope. I don't think I am a moralist, ma'am. Not just technically, practically. For a moment, there was hope. If always picking the option that doesn't commit to anything, then hell yes I am, and also not. Just in case you insist on not taking a stance on anything. Am I a moralist? Do I think they were right to stop the revolution the way they did? What would have happened if they hadn't? They landed here and ended the revolution. And I know about them ending the revolution by bombing everything, right? The shelling was from the coalition government forces, was it not? Am I wrong? Did I misunderstand Renee? No. Because you had the royalists fighting the communists, and it was just an ongoing bloodshed, and nothing was coming out of it, and then the coalition government showed up and shelled everybody into submission, right? I haven't finished thinking about whether or not I'm a moralist. I find it, under the circumstances, distasteful, but maybe realistic? I don't know. But I'm not willing to just pick the option that doesn't commit to anything, then hell yes I am, and also not, which is hilarious, but also not helpful. For a moment, there was hope. Which is something that's worth clinging to, I suppose. Doesn't matter that much what I tell Joyce anyway, does it? If I express an opinion on moralism, I'm going to get more information on it out of Joyce. So let's say for a moment that I am a moralist, practically. For a moment, there was hope.
A devout man of the center.
Uh-huh.
Hard to come by. It's good to have someone who takes a moderate approach to head shooting. In your line of work, I mean.
I suppose that's true. She nodded in the middle there. I do seem to have a moderate approach to head shooting, given that, you know, I apparently have killed 3 people total. When was this kerfuffle exactly?
The turn of the century revolution? Don't answer it. It's a trick question.
She smiles mischievously. Okay, continue.
The revolution began in 02 on the Isla of Grad, though by the end, nearly the whole world had gotten involved.
Gotcha. Who started it?
It wasn't a who, but a what.
Uh-huh.
A pandemic of Zarat, a particularly virulent prion disease.
I don't know what that is.
Which the authorities in Grad proved unable to contain. Then Marzolf came along and overthrew the government.
Took advantage of their weakness type of thing? What did this Sarath do?
It made people overthrow their governments.
Wow, really? No way.
Of course not. It was a highly infectious microorganism that destroyed brain tissue.
Mm-hmm.
The actual causes of the revolution were material. The pandemic only provided the spark.
Gotcha.
It
Continue.
was a funny time in history. They discovered transistors and rock music, but they didn't know anything about prions.
I don't either.
Nobody did.
Well, where did it spread from there?
From Revachol and Grad? Not far. The world managed to cauterize itself. Marzolf's government was overthrown in 08, and the coalition crushed the Revachol commune 2 years later. It was the end.
I totally spaced that out. You used... Mazov's government was overthrown 6 years after after the initial overthrow, and the coalition crushed the Revachol commune 2 years later. It was the end. So that was by 10. Okay. Got it. That was the shelling. What came next?
Why? You and I, officer. Our lives in the zone of control.
She spreads her arms, raincoat flapping in the wind. Continue.
Something tells you her life and yours are not that similar. Maybe it's because she has a boat and you have that necktie? A pair of pants?
You have a point there. Our lives are very different from each other. What is the zone of control? What happened in the rest of the world? We have economic disparity between us, you and I, Joyce Messier, and there's no way around it.
No doubt. But we share the same time and position on the planet's crust. That counts for more than you think.
Fair enough, I suppose. What is the zone of control?
A city-state divided into free market zones under the everlasting interregnum of the Coalition of Nations. And you, of course, the citizens' militia.
That's us, apparently. Continue.
The zone of control is the third incarnation of Revachol, after the failure of the suzerain and the commune.
Right, but the commune was only around for, 8 years, if that? What happened in the rest of the world? No, 6 years even. What happened in the rest of the world?
Modernity. They developed the marvels of the inter-eastlery communication. Telematic milieus, radiation, colored plastics. Meanwhile, in Revachol West, the aftermath continues for the 5th decade.
5 decades of this. Continue.
51 minus 8 equals 43.
Thank you, Logic. Wait, you're saying it's been like this for 43 years?
Time flies.
What have we been doing all that time?
The 20s saw a decade of urban war, west of the river leveled, offshore platforms in flames. Still, it's regarded as an improvement on what came before. 08 to 19 was simply hell.
Simply hell. And after that?
The 30s? Things settled down in the 30s. Revachol East transformed itself into the world's largest tax haven, with the international community's blessing. For the first time in a long time, it seemed like things were going somewhere.
That's when they discovered disco. Were they? Seems like a good opportunity to mention disco again.
Yes, and quantitative easing. It was a market mirage, unfortunately. The 40s dispelled it. An Isola-wide hangover, you might say. So, here we are.
She curtsies. She likes to do little bows and curtsies and whatnots to punctuate her language. Continue.
Welcome to reality, baby.
Great. I've gotten my reality lowdown. Continue. Thank you.
For her to be where she is, Wild Pines Group must have picked the right side.
It does seem likely, doesn't it? Which side was the Wild Pines Group on? What would you have done differently? Let's start with the Wild Pines Group.
They picked the winning side. That's why they're here, and others are not.
They chose wisely, they got lucky. They chose wisely, they got lucky. I don't know. But with war, it's usually more about luck than wisdom, isn't it? There's really only so much control you can have over that scale of human event. They got lucky.
Perhaps it wouldn't have turned out that way had I been in charge.
Really?
I might have bet on the king and led the Pines to doom.
Is that so? You would have sided with the king?
I would have sided with the cannons.
Ah.
If you'd seen the calibers of the things, you might have too.
She thinks.
Perhaps it's better I was born when I was.
Maybe so. Continue.
10 of the 14 Indo tribes got it wrong. Feld, Kupri, Tricentennial. So I suppose I would have been in good company.
I suppose so. The Indo tribes are the corporations that, like the massive scale corporations, right? And Kupri, that's the ones that made the car that Kim drives. Okay, I'm just sort of trying to take everything in. What would you have done differently, Kim? Like, Joyce, Kim's not here.
Good question. What would you have done differently?
She cranes her neck. I asked you, who are you in all this? I would have sought a medical solution. Sounds like Tsaroth drove those people mad. I would have killed more, 400 million if that's what it took. I would have positioned myself very precisely. I would have made it out with the mineral rights. I don't know what I would have done differently. The superficial solution would seem to be a medical one. I have to imagine that they tried, but I want to know what they tried, so I'm going to say this.
A cold creeps up your spine, reaching its tendrils up your neck, toward the back of your head.
Continue.
So a quarter of humanity simply lost their minds. And how would you stop a prion? A complex folding protein, unlife, with the technology 50 years ago.
So the prions are unlife. The prions are what make up the pale. That's what this is. with some hygiene, modest social care, and perhaps a little research program. Liquidate the rabid prion-infested dogs who want to kill everyone with cleansing artillery fire. With privatized healthcare and a work ethic that does not turn your brain into sponge tissue. Okay, maybe it's impossible. What happened had to happen and always will. Optimistic, but perhaps unrealistic. A work ethic that does not turn your brain into sponge tissue. Privatized healthcare. Now I'm going with maybe it was impossible.
The wind stops, and for a moment, there's silence. The charge dissipates into the dark water. All is quiet on the Martinez inlet.
Oh shoot, did I mess something up? I can't even tell. What did you want from me, Shivers? Continue.
A dog barks. A gunshot echoes off the walls of some distant building. A woman's voice.
Continue.
Always.
Always.
Always. That's the can't-do attitude that truly defines late modernity. You may prove a modern man yet.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing, Joyce Messier? She nods. That's enough about the times, I guess.
They are what they are. Who knows? An afterbloom may yet come.
Maybe. Continue.
Anyway, enough sentimentality. Is there anything else you want to know?
Is there? Continue.
Now's your chance. Ask her who she is. She won't get out this time.
You think so, Rhetoric? I haven't asked what is this, spread your hand. This seems like it should be the grand finale, so to speak, you know? Also, why does it highlight the RCM thing again? I don't need to review this. What is this?
A bird? A sphenicid? A flightless bird of the polar region?
She tilts her head. Keep guessing. Am I really that awkward? I meant, what is this place here? Keep guessing, Joyce.
Some sort of krill hunter? No, wait.
Joyce raises her eyebrows.
You're an ancient ruin. A symbol of hubris and decay. Half submerged in some salty sea.
Are you saying I'm ruined? What? Really? She seems to think she has the answer. Are you saying I'm ruined?
Of course you're not, my dear. I'm just terrible at guessing games.
That's taking you far too seriously, apparently. I meant, what is this place here?
Ah. This is the pier of Rue de Saint-Ghislain, 33A, where the tenants have been kind enough to rent me a slot.
She spreads her arms almost as wide as me, the ruin. Continue.
Or two.
I suppose, yes. She looks around. What is Rue de Saint-Ghislain? 33A.
A pre-revolutionary tenement. Old buildings are called tenements, you see. And new buildings, bâtiments.
Bâtiment?
After les bâtiments nouveaux. But 33A and 33B are not nouveaux. They're old.
She looks up at the crumbling facade.
This one used to be 8 to 10 stories tall. A real high-rise by the standards of the last century. Built to mirror the skyscrapers across the bay in the Delta. That was before the war, of course.
Of course. Who lived in them?
Mostly the urban middle class, I believe. This was once primo real estate.
Yeah.
Before the cannons lopped 4 or 5 stories off.
They certainly did that. Continue.
Splat, splat.
Hi, Cindy. From a dilapidated balcony, a young girl in odd clothes gives Joyce the evil eye, a red paintbrush held to her throat. Were you listening to us the whole time? Continue.
You could be wrong. But from here it appears as if she's running the brush across her throat in a soaring motion.
I mean, that would seem to be in character. Continue.
Wonderful.
Wonderful indeed. What is that? Point to Cindy the skull.
The girl in the old lady rags.
Yes. No, I meant something basic about reality. Yes.
Looks like a sullen and rebellious member of a teen infraculture.
An infraculture?
Yes. You and I belong to the supraculture.
Uh-huh.
We're common, the herd. The music on the radio, the food in the chain restaurant, those are all too popular for the girl in the old lady rags.
I suppose. we're both common, are we? Economic things. Continue?
She prefers a fantasy world, an infraculture with its own dress code and vernacular. It is an illusion, I'm afraid. There is no refuge from the supraculture.
Okay, now explain the same thing but to a child. I understand everything. Make it more complicated somehow. No, I actually basically followed what you were saying there. Whether or not I agree with your analysis of the situation, let's make it more complicated.
I can't. That's how simple it is. One may dye their hair green and wear their grandma's coat all they want. Capital has the ability to subsume all critiques into itself. Even those who would critique capital end up reinforcing it instead.
Is that so? Continue.
All right. What next?
She pauses to take a long, leisurely sip of tea.
Suddenly, you're not so sure you're part of the supraculture.
I mean, I think I may be part of an infraculture. I say out loud, or let it go. This is a thought happening. It's a thought happening. Tell me about the thought.
And what would that be?
Cop. Disco. I don't know. I just feel it. Her eyes go round with surprise also. Given that I say I am the law a lot, but otherwise I don't seem to be a particularly good cop at the present. Like at one point I solved a lot of cases, sure. I seem to have the analytical brain. But when I woke up in this reality, one of the things I said the most, at least to myself, was that I didn't think that I should be a cop or that I want to be a cop. Disco infraculture? I don't know, I just feel it. I think every time there's been an opportunity to say disco, I've just said disco. Let's say disco some more.
I can see that, yes. I dabble in those dark arts myself, not so long ago.
She smiles enigmatically.
I assure you, it was a thoroughly supracultural phenomenon. All permeating. Downright mandatory.
Right, but I haven't given it up yet. Is that worth something? Continue.
Nothing infra about disco, baby.
Oh man, you're disco? We got this covered about another nap. You're disco?
Those days are long behind me.
She looks inland with a sarcastic
And
wistfulness.
even in the early 30s, I would say I was more of a new girl. Disco was a minor, but still enjoyable facet of the whole thing for me.
The new? What's this now?
The new. A cultural era. And the name of the decade it ravished, the 30s. It came out of post-revolutionary Revachol. It was ultra-liberal.
Ah, that's something you've described yourself as being before, indirectly. Continue.
It involved lots of partying, as you might imagine, and champagne-colored everything.
Right.
By the looks of it, that would have been when you came of age.
Presumably.
Now,
She raises her eyebrow at you. Sounds fun. I can't remember a single thing. Champagne. That doesn't sound like anything I'd be into. I'm straight edge. Got it. Let's take back to reality central for the next one. I can't pretend I'm straight edge. Look at my nose.
wasn't it Guillaume Le Million who said, if you can remember the new, you weren't there?
That's wait, Guillaume Le Million? I was just thinking about that guy. Whatever happened to him? Sure. Let's talk about Guillaume.
Ah, yes. This is not very central to reality, is it?
She looks hesitant. I still want to know. I feel like I already remembered this with my thought cabinet, but let's go ahead and hear it from your mouth, too.
I can't be 100% sure, but I believe he died due to complications from venereal disease.
I think that's what my brain told me, too. Which one? Are you sure he didn't die of autoerotic asphyxiation? That's what I thought. So you're saying he didn't vanish in a puff of stardust? This is what my brain thinks happened. Let's discuss.
You can't get a venereal disease from that, can you?
Well, which disease were you thinking?
All of them.
Sure, okay. So you're saying he didn't vanish in a puff of stardust?
I'm afraid no. But then again, one can't be entirely sure. It's all part of his mystique. Ask someone else and you may get a more champagne-colored take.
What would a champagne-colored take seem like? I'm not even sure. Continue.
Anyway, what other basic facets of reality should we discuss?
So, before I ask about who you are in all this, I can't help but notice that earlier in the day it was snowing, and now, 5 p.m. as the sun is setting, it's raining again. How does this work? Seriously, I want to know what you are. She hums. Stop dodging. What are you?
I am the vilest of the vile.
She says with a sudden flash
A
of teeth.
traitor. A devourer of nations and infants.
Are you? Continue.
I am an ultra.
Ultra-liberal, right. You've mentioned. Continue.
She raises the corner of her mouth, smirking, revealing a canine.
Wait, what's an ultra? Dios mio, draw across. A liberal! Cool, I liberate pretty hard myself. I don't understand. What's so vile about that? A devourer of nations and infants. She's already explained what an ultra is. I know what an ultra is. Am I anti-liberal? I don't have an opinion on it, but maybe I should at this point, having heard what their deal is. They're the survivors. They're the ones who supported the revolution but then benefited from its downfall. I just like this option in general. A liberal! But I can never tell if I'm being serious. But then again, starting with Dios mio and drawing across, I'm probably not being serious, right?
Yes. I am the nether creature of the Forbidden Swamp. I pushed the king under a shit wagon and betrayed the revolution. My kind surrendered the nation to financial colonists.
She nods slowly.
I can see you thought we'd gone extinct. After all, no sane person identifies as an ultra-liberal anymore. Not in broad daylight.
She looks into your eye.
You're a centrist at heart. A real moralist, no? Tell me, now that I've uncoiled myself, do you find me frightening?
She's taking me seriously. Was I being serious? Continue.
In her green eyes, you see a mixture of truth and self-satire. Decades of guilt and pride.
You're a monster. I forgive you. I forgive you, but only because you're charming. I don't care. I just wanted to say Dios mio and draw a cross in the air. Decades of guilt and pride. Say I was a moralist, well, that would mean that I'm with the coalition government, essentially. Agreeing with them, right? I suppose that would make me a bit of a monster from her perspective as well. Maybe. I don't know. Pushed the king under a shit wagon, betrayed the revolution. I don't know if I would consider her a monster any more than I would consider any of the other participants in the revolution a monster of their own variety, you know? Humans have a tendency to become monstrous in a lot of scenarios. I forgive you, though. Like, these options, right? You're a monster. I'm not sure she is. I forgive you. That suggests I'm in a position to be forgiving her, and I'm not sure I am. I don't care. This one's the jokiest. Is this a time for jokes? She considers herself a monster, but at least from the perspective of a moralist, right? A traitor, a devourer of nations and infants. Whatever. I forgive you, but only because you're charming.
A devil, who being of great charm and guile, sneaketh into the homes of the godly.
She pronounces, vile devil. Shake your head slowly. Nod, devil woman.
I hope so. I hope we are able to continue as friends despite my scaly bulk.
Scaly ball.
And the insanity, bloodshed, and transfer of wealth that took place here.
Mm-hmm.
It was not the plan all along.
Yeah. Continue.
When the dust settled, the Liberals were the only ones left to clean up the mess. By virtue of their survival, they were handed enormous power to shape the future.
She turns her gaze to the Delta.
This was all our last generation managed.
Mm-hmm. Would you have done something differently? That settles that. I feel like I already asked this question and you just passed it off on me. Would you have done something differently?
With due respect to our overlords, the eternal caretaker government that keeps Martinez a monument to the efficacy of its artillery.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing they're doing. Or seemingly. Continue.
While a gentle wind sweeps the streets in the rebuilt east, light drizzle washing it clean, lights go up and motor carriages circulate the tracks.
Mm-hmm. Continue.
I would not have relinquished sovereignty to the Coalition. Not here in Martinez, and not in the Stella Maris or Delta Beachheads either. If not for my own sake.
If not for your own sake?
She realizes her small, cold fists are clenched. She loosens them.
Continue.
Then for my daughters. We had an obligation to defend our sovereignty. We should have burned the whole Isola down rather than let them have it.
Her daughters. I believe she's talking theoretically speaking, rather than about specific people. Continue.
Dark orange flames reflect in her green eyes. An oil fire on the ocean.
You're a smart woman. You're a patriot. You have daughters? Conclude. I'm inclined to agree with her. Although that probably would have gotten everyone murdered. And I'm guessing if I say she's a smart woman, she's going to say exactly that. But let's hear it.
Perhaps. My intellectual vanity will be my undoing.
Her earrings chime as she nods.
You're no dummy yourself.
So am I. No, or intellectual vanity will be my undoing. I mean, by looking just at the numbers, I am supposed to be pretty smart, even if I am also incredibly dumb at the same time.
A smart boy getting smarter. One basic term of reality at a time.
So you're a patriot then?
Yes, I suppose I am. But I wouldn't be a patriot anywhere but here.
I mean, I think that's how patriotism works, theoretically, right? You have daughters, conclude.
Yes. Whatever else I am, I'm also a mother. And a wife. Now, shall we return to reality?
She closes her eyes and opens them again. Okay, I guess that's all for now.
Glad to have been of assistance. The little that I know. Anything else?
That seems to be it for now, Joyce. Thank you. Well, this has been informative, and I finished a thought. Let's hear it, Moralism.
Kingdom of conscience. The kingdom of conscience will be exactly as it is now. Moralists don't really have beliefs. Sometimes they stumble on one, like on a child's toy left on the carpet. The toy must be put away immediately, and the child reprimanded. Centrism isn't change, not even incremental change. It is control over yourself and the world. Exercise it. Look up at the sky, at the dark shapes of the coalition airships hanging there. Ask yourself, is there something sinister in moralism? And then answer, no. God is in his heaven. Everything is normal on Earth.
Normal. Bonuses? Moralist dialogue options, heal +1 morale. I feel like that would have been useful a little while ago. Learning cap for volition raised to 5. Learning cap for logic raised to 5 as well. But my logic was already higher than that, I think. Volition raised to 5, though, that is possibly worth it. The having analyzed this thought, it agrees with my suspicions that moralism is somewhat reprehensible. But volition raised to 5. Oh, do I keep it just for that? Do I keep it just for that? I don't know. I'm going to have to think on it. But I'm going to have to think on it another time because we've gone way over my normal limit. despite it being literally the middle of the night where I am right now recording this. So, yeah, I guess we're done right here, right now. This has been an informative session. I feel like I should have finished up with that bizarre stuff about the Pale, but at least I feel like I understand the world a little bit better now. And who knew I had to do it with Kim gone, or else I wouldn't have gotten the answers I was looking for. Huh. In any case, we're done for now. Next time, I don't know, visit a pawn shop, read up on cockatoos, something like that, I'm sure. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.